Exposed. My amazing sister, a pilot, discovered my husband's incredible secret with another woman. Amy Timmons couldn't believe it. Her heart raced as she stared at her phone. The screen lighting up as Jennifer's text illuminated everything she thought she knew about her life. I overheard something today, about Mark. The air felt thick with tension, and images of carpool lines, bake sales, and family dinners collided in her mind. Trust the bedrock she built her perfect life upon shuddered beneath an earthquake of doubt. Maplewood, with its tree-lined streets and friendly smiles, was supposed to be a sanctuary. Neighbors shared stories on porches while kids played freely in their yards. Yet here she was, belittled by a shattering truth she never thought she'd face. For years, she had championed Jennifer, her sister soaring through the skies as a trailblazing pilot, breaking barriers in an industry that seemed to think women belonged somewhere else. Yet now it felt like Amy was the one grounded, her wings clipped by betrayal. At a tea breakfast that morning, the chatter of her children echoed like prayers. A momentary flash of normalcy clung to the cozy kitchen. But as Mark's eyes met hers, a fleeting shadow passed across his face. It was a warning she didn't comprehend until later. She felt a tightening in her chest, a lump forming in her throat, as she tried to distract herself with pancake flipping. The love that had filled their home since their wedding day began to feel like a carefully constructed facade. With each passing moment, Amy oscillated between love and disbelief. Is it really possible? Could Mark, the good husband, the doting father, be involved in something so heart-wrenching? Her thoughts spun wildly, and disbelief morphed into outrage. And then, guilt followed. The desire to protect her children from this unforgiving storm grew stronger with every heartbeat. Amid her personal chaos, her neighbors rallied. They brought casseroles and shared comforting thoughts. "We're here for you, Amy," they said, their voices like warm blankets wrapping around her. Potluck dinners turned into therapy sessions, the community's love a lifeline she desperately needed. But behind her wall of support lingered questions about Mark's motives. His increasing restlessness and tension were no longer a mystery. The financial strain had transformed him, clouding his judgment. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As evening fell over Maplewood, the sunset cast shadows that seemed to deepen her turmoil. Standing on their porch, she faced Mark. He looked like the man she had married, but his posture betrayed uncertainty. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but trembling. She could feel the weight of unspoken truths pressing against her chest, threatening to suffocate her. In that heavy silence, Amy realized the rawness of her situation. The love that once felt invincible now seemed painfully fragile, nestled between hurt and hope. The looming question hung in the air. Can love truly triumph over betrayal? Or would this be the end of everything she held dear? The thought knotted inside her, a restless turmoil promising more upheaval in the chapters yet to unfold. The air around them quivered with unspoken words. Mark took a step closer, but Amy couldn't read the concern etched on his face. With determination she said, "I know something's wrong, Mark. Jennifer heard something about you." It felt strange to utter those words, each syllable weighing heavily like stones in her mouth. Mark's face paled, and for a brief moment, doubt flashed in his eyes. "What do you mean?" His voice was unsteady, and she could tell he was caught off guard. "What did she say?" "Heard you with someone else. I need to know if it's true," Amy replied, her heart pounding so hard she wondered if Mark could hear it. Fears danced in her mind, painting pictures of treachery she never wanted to believe. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair, a gesture she knew all too well. "Amy, it's complicated. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." His voice was softer now, almost pleading. "Complicated?" she echoed, anger flaring within her. What could possibly be complicated about being faithful? What could drive you to betray our family? Bitterness tinged her words, each one emerging like a carefully aimed arrow at his heart. The pressures. Work has been unbearable. I've felt lost, and I made mistakes, but I never wanted to hurt you, he confessed, his eyes welling with emotion. Tears formed in Amy's eyes, blurring her vision of the man she thought she knew. The very thought of those hours spent apart, filled with suspicions and whispers, gnawed at her spirit. A silence hung between them, heavy like thick fog. Amy's mind raced back to their wedding vows. Forever felt like an eternity back then. Remembering their laughter, the sweetness of their earlier days, made her feel hollow now. But how far did it go? She asked, quieter now, almost afraid of the answer. Is there someone else? It was just a moment of weakness. I thought I could handle it alone. His admission seemed to shift something inside Amy, anger giving way to a deep sadness. The man she wanted to trust was unraveling before her eyes. As if sensing the breaking of her heart, Mark reached for Amy's hand, but she pulled away, her heart refusing to forgive his betrayal. You think you can just say sorry and it's supposed to fix everything? That's not how this works. With a frown, Mark stepped back, the distance between them widening. He looked lost, and for a split second, Amy felt pity. Could they ever bridge this gap? Was she destined to live with half a story, an abandoned dream? Or could they rebuild the trust that had vanished into thin air? Despite the turmoil, Amy knew she had to weigh her options. Anger and love battled within her, with nagging voices from friends echoing in her head. You deserve better, Amy. But just as she turned to regain her composure, she noticed a shadow across their yard. It was one of their neighbors, a figure in the dimming light. They didn't share friendly waves anymore but stood frozen, as if eavesdropping, mere spectators to the unraveling of her world. What are you doing here? Mark asked sharply, his frustration rising. Amy's breath caught in her throat. Secrets hid in every corner of Maplewood. Who else had been watching? The question spiraled wildly in her mind as she prepared for the next confrontation. Would she truly find hope? Or was this just the beginning of a deeper cut? Nothing felt safe anymore. Mark's eyes darted toward the shadowy figure standing outside their property. Amy felt a cold shiver creep down her spine. The neighborhood, once a cascade of warm barbecues and friendly chit-chat, now felt like a breeding ground for gossip. Cynthia. Mark's voice was a mix of irritation and embarrassment. What are you doing out there? The neighbor stepped forward, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. I saw the two of you arguing. I was worried. Worried about what? Amy snapped, her voice laced with anxiety. Our business is not your concern. The very fact that Cynthia had lingered outside their home felt invasive, as if their pain was a public spectacle. Cynthia hesitated but pressed on. I didn't mean to intrude, but you know the community talks. I thought you should know that. Know what? Mark interjected, his tone sharper. You're not helping. Maybe you should hear this, Cynthia continued, her voice steady. There have been rumors. People have seen you with someone else, Mark. It spread around town. Amy felt the ground sway beneath her as this reality crashed down. It wasn't just Jennifer who knew. The very structure of their life, the trust they had built over years, was crumbling in front of her. Who? She demanded, her heart racing. She had to brace herself for what was coming next. I can't say names, Cynthia replied, almost apologetically. But it's not just whispers anymore, Amy. It's there, lurking in every conversation. Mark stood frozen, unable to meet her eyes. Amy's world narrowed down to that one moment, to that one painful truth. Things were spiraling out of control. Could they save what was left of their family? Or was this the sign she had been dreading? Amy, I can explain, Mark finally whispered, desperation creeping into his voice. Explain what? She shot back, anger and sadness mingling in her soul. Explain the pain you caused? The humiliation? You let it get this far, Mark. Is there anything left to explain? Cynthia lowered her gaze, recognizing the intensity of the emotions surging between them. Maybe it's time to talk to somebody. A therapist, or she suggested cautiously, but Amy cut her off. I don't need a therapist to recognize betrayal. The fury of her voice echoed, and Mark flinched. Silence reigned, thick and suffocating. Amy felt the urge to scream, to flee, to escape the scrutiny of Cynthia, the confines of Maplewood, even the sight of Mark. What do you want me to say? He finally pleaded, his voice breaking. I never intended for you to find this out like this. I thought you thought what? Amy interrupted, incredulous. That it would just go away? That I would never find out? She could feel her emotions teetering on the brink of chaos, the weight of betrayal anchoring her down. Cynthia shuffled awkwardly, sensing the rift deepening. I should go, she murmured, backing away as if leaving was the only cure to the suffocating tension. Wait. Amy called, desperation in her voice. You could come to me, but Cynthia had already walked away, leaving Amy alone with Mark, the man who had broken her heart. Where do we go from here? Mark asked softly, stepping closer again. Amy took a deep breath, her heart a storm of emotions. I need time. Time to think. Time to figure out if there's anything left to save, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. With that, she turned and walked inside, leaving Mark standing in the yard, sidestepping Cynthia's lingering gaze. The door shut behind her, encasing the noise and heartbreak once shared in their home. As she leaned against the cool wood, tears pooled in her eyes, blurring her vision. Could she ever find a path back to trust? Or would time only deepen the wounds that seemed to fester at the heart of their life together? The next morning would come, but the question now hung heavy in the air. Would morning light bring clarity or only more shadows? Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, gently, cautiously. Amy watched as the light created patterns on the floor, each speck a haunting reminder of yesterday's confrontation. She felt hollow, as if every part of her spirit had been drained overnight. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, its comforting aroma a sharp contrast to the chaos in her heart. With every sip, she tried to regain some semblance of control. Amy found herself staring out the window, watching the neighborhood come alive. The curtains of other homes swayed lightly, children laughed, dogs barked, and yet her world remained achingly still. How could life outside move on when hers felt so shattered? Mark hadn't come inside after she left him in the yard. The reality hit her. Hadn't chased after her, hadn't begged her to stay, which only deepened the ache in her chest. Did he even care? She remembered their early days. How they would wake to the sound of the world and share affectionate glances, dreams still fresh in their minds. Now those moments felt like a twisted joke. What do you want? She whispered to herself, confusion mixing with anger. She could hear some neighbors chatting outside. Cynthia's voice cut through her thoughts, and Amy felt heat rise to her cheeks. She longed to confront the woman who had brought this to light, to demand an explanation as to why she assumed the role of their life as critic. Instead, Amy buried herself under layers of uncertainty, wondering if confronting others would only reveal more unpalatable truths. Perhaps it was time for a confrontation of a different sort, the one with Mark when he finally stepped inside. After what felt like an eternity, she heard the familiar creak of the door. Mark walked in slowly, his face drawn, eyes shadowed from an uncertain night. The air between them thickened. Amy, he started, but she raised a hand to stop him. Let me speak first, please, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Okay. She paced the small space, her heart racing. You say you can explain, but I don't know if I want an explanation. Every word pulled at her chest, but she had to let her feelings spill out. I don't know if I want to hear how talented you are at justifying betrayal. Mark flinched. I wasn't justifying you. I know you weren't, she said, looking down in defeat. But this is not just about what you did. It's about how it feels. The trust was our foundation, Mark, and you've just taken a wrecking ball to it. I never meant for this to happen. He blurted. Did you ever think about me? About us? The urgency in her voice hung in the air, demanding an answer. He tried to meet her eyes but faltered. I've been lost, Amy. I thought it wouldn't matter, that we'd come back together like we always do. Lost? She echoed, disbelief washing over her. You lost us, Mark. I can't just ignore that. Silence cloaked them like a heavy blanket. As they both stared at the floor, Amy's thoughts spiraled. Were they worth salvaging? Or was this the moment everything shattered irrevocably, leaving nothing but fragments to pick up? I'm willing to fight for us, he finally said, a mix of desperation and yearning in his eyes. But if you need time, I understand. Just don't shut me out. It's not that simple, she admitted softly, the truth like a weight on her shoulders. A fresh wave of tears threatened, but she fought them back. She had a choice to make. Fight for the family they built or turn away from a past marred with infidelity. No matter what you decide, I'll be here, he said, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his stance. As Amy opened her mouth to speak, a phone buzzed across the table, jarring her thoughts. It was a message from Jennifer, a name she hadn't even considered in hours, now hovering dangerously close. Drawing in a shaky breath, Amy knew that this decision could lead her down a path she couldn't foresee. What had Jennifer uncovered that might complicate everything? Amy felt a chill run down her spine as she stared at the phone. The screen lit up with Jennifer's name and a preview of the message that felt like a siren call, urging her closer to a storm she hadn't anticipated. Just breathe, she whispered to herself, but the pulse in her neck throbbed relentlessly. She could feel Mark's eyes on her, a silent plea carved into his expression, yet the tension in the air tightened around her like a noose. With trembling fingers, she swiped the notification. Hey Amy. You won't believe who I saw with Mark yesterday. Let us talk. The words swirled around her head like confetti caught in a whirlwind. Was this it? Was this what tossed their lives into chaos? Her heart raced, and for a moment, her body seemed to betray her as hope mingled with fear. Questions loomed. Why hadn't Mark told her? What else was he hiding? Mark took a cautious step forward, breaking the grip of silence shifting between them. Amy, please. What is it? His voice was a lifeline woven through her disarray. Should she tell him? Should she share what Jennifer had seen? But the instinct to protect surged within her. What if this was a misunderstanding? What if her sister was jumping to conclusions? It's just a message from Jennifer, Amy replied finally, straining to keep her voice steady. The flicker of discomfort was evident across Mark's face, an instant shift that declared he knew something was wrong. What did she say? It felt like the ground beneath her thinned, leaving her unsteady. She claims she saw you with another woman. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. She said them. Yet the confirmation felt more like an accusation. Mark's face paled, and he clenched his fists tightly at his sides. There has to be a reason, Amy, he breathed, desperation creeping into his voice. What did she tell you exactly? Just that she saw you with someone and you didn't look like friends, she said, her heart splintering with every syllable. She wanted to defend him, wanted to believe him, but the reality felt grim. Amy, I promise you, I can explain this, he stammered, urgency pushing his words. You have to trust me. I made mistakes, but I'm committed to fixing it. I wouldn't put you through this intentionally. But how can I trust you? She shot back, the frustration blooming like a wound. How am I supposed to reconcile your betrayals with the heart I have left? I need to explain myself, to share what's been going on. His sincerity cut through her rage, but the weight of doubt held her fast. What's been going on, Mark? You think that just walking away from your problems would make them disappear? You thought it wouldn't matter? This matters and you know it. Tears finally spilled over, and she wiped at them angrily. The contrast of sorrow and love twisted her stomach into knots. Just as she took a breath to respond, the phone buzzed again, a new message from Jennifer. Ignoring her instinct to resist, she opened it. Amy, you need to see for yourself. I'll send you the picture. This is bigger than you know. A storm brewed in her chest, ready to unleash the worst kind of chaos. As Amy's heart raced, she glanced at Mark. His bewilderment mirrored her own, but there was one undeniable truth. She was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering between love and betrayal. Do you really want to know the truth? She challenged him, her voice trembling but fierce. Mark's eyes searched hers, breathing deeply as if trying to find his footing in this darkened realm. I deserve to know everything, he replied, determination filling that void of uncertainty. And at that moment, Amy realized she had little choice left. The truth was calling, and she could feel its resonance. What would she find once she fully opened that door? Would it be redemption or devastation? The phone buzzed again. Amy's heart raced as she opened the message, knowing that whatever lay ahead would irrevocably change everything. The screen glowed in her shaking hands as the message loaded. A small part of Amy wanted to delay, to hold off on what was likely a damning piece of evidence. But dread and urgency pushed her forward. The photo appeared, and her breath caught in her throat. It was like a punch to the gut. There was Mark, unmistakably, his hand on the shoulder of a woman Amy didn't he recognize. They were laughing, caught in a moment that felt too intimate, too easy, like the kind of honeymoon laughter she had only ever shared with him. What is it? What does it say? Mark leaned closer, eyes pleading, dread swirling in the air around them. Amy could hardly process the sight. The edges of the picture blurred as tears threatened to fall again. The laughter, the light in his eyes, it was not the Mark she recognized. Who is she? The words came out in a tight whisper, laced with disbelief. I don't know, Mark stammered. I can explain. But his voice cracked, and the weight of shame hung around him like a heavy fog. Amy, please let me explain. He pleaded, reaching for her hand. But she jerked away as if burned. Rage surged through her, feeding off her confusion. How could he stand there, begging for clarity when he had built this wall of secrecy around their love? Your explanations mean nothing now. She felt the flush of anger in her cheeks, hot and suffocating. I can't even look at you. What do you have to say for yourself? I was just trying to keep you safe. I never wanted you to worry or safe. She interrupted, her voice rising. You thought lying to me would keep me safe. Is that how you see me? As someone who can't handle the truth? Mark pressed his hands against his knees, desperation creasing his forehead. I swear, this isn't what it seems. There are things you don't know. Things I didn't want to burden you with. As he spoke, the photo-esque grip tightened around her heart. What could he say that would justify this? Betrayal loomed larger than any excuse he could muster. Then tell me everything, she demanded, feeling raw and exposed. What's the truth behind this? I need to know, Mark. He inhaled deeply, wrestling with the secrets unraveling in his mind. I was there talking about work. Someone in my department was reaching out for help. She approached me because of a work meeting? Amy scoffed, disbelief cracking through her voice. You're reaching. It looks like more than that. I panicked. She was persistent, and I didn't want to hurt her feelings, Mark admitted. The remorse in his words set heavily in the air. But I promise you, Amy, I didn't want anything more except you took it too far. The words burst forth from her like a volcano, hot and fierce. You didn't think I'd find out? How could you betray my trust so easily? Mark's shoulders sagged, and something broke in his gaze. I messed up. I know that now. I was just stupid, caught up in the moment. I never wanted to hurt you. Hovering at the edge of a chasm filled with disappointment and distrust, her heart ached. Did he truly think she could forgive the layers of deceit? Could they rebuild a foundation built on such instability? The thought was terrifying. How can we move past this? She whispered, the weight of her question hanging in the air. Just then, her phone buzzed once more. Another message from Jennifer, more urgent than before. Amy, you have to listen to me now. This goes deeper than you know. As she read those words, confusion and dread clawed at her mind. What could be deeper than betrayal? What more was there to unearth? Mark's hand hovered beside her, as if he wanted to reach out but feared her reaction. Their love, once joyful and unbreakable, felt fragile now, like glass on the verge of shattering. Do you really want to hear what I uncovered? She asked, staring into his eyes, searching for the truth she needed. Maybe it was time to dig deeper, perhaps uncovering truths even darker than betrayal itself. But could she handle what awaited her? Amy's heart raced as she looked back at the screen, still trying to absorb Jennifer's unsettling message. What goes deeper than this? She asked, mostly to herself, her thoughts tumbling over one another. Mark waited, a tense silence stretching between them. She could see it in his eyes, the fear mixed with genuine concern. It irked her that, even in this moment of crisis, he seemed to care about her feelings instead of acknowledging the chaos they were in. She did not want his comfort right now. Amy? He ventured cautiously, his voice a fragile thread in the air. Maybe we should focus on what's really happening. She shot him a glare, frustration boiling over. You think that's the solution? Ignoring the huge elephant in the room? Mark leaned back, his voice softened. No, I want to face it with you. But I just need you to trust me when I say, it's not as simple as it appears. Trust you? She exclaimed, her pulse quickening. How can I trust anything you say? She moved away from him, seeking distance as if that would help clear her mind. The photo weighed heavily on her, A vivid reminder of the fragile trust that had shattered merely minutes ago. Jennifer's message lingered in her mind, teasing at something darker. She felt a sense of urgency to reach out to her sister, a need for clarity. With her heart still pulsing wildly in her chest, Amy pressed the screen and sent a quick reply. What's deeper? I need to know. The seconds felt like hours as she waited, the stillness punctuated only by the distant sounds of cars outside. Mark had remained quiet, his anxiety palpable. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, Mark said, breaking the silence with an edge of desperation. If I had known she would react this way, if I had thought I would never have put you through this. Well, that's just it. Amy retorted. You didn't think, did you? You just reacted. Like I'm some fragile thing you have to protect by lying. Her words cut through the air, heavy with pain and anger. He looked down, a single tear welling in the corner of his eye, and it pierced her heart in an unexpected way. She had wanted to see him hurt, but now, witnessing his struggle, it filled her with guilt. Before she could gather her thoughts, her phone buzzed again. Jennifer's name flashed brightly, and Amy's heart soared with a mix of hope and dread. She swiped to open it. Amy, you need to meet me. There's a lot more to explain. I promise it's urgent. The message settled like a weight on her chest. She sensed urgency in her sister's words, but something in her gut told her to be wary. What could be worse than the image of Mark and another woman, laughing together, as if they were lost in a world of their own? Mark watched her closely, gauging her reaction. He looked almost helpless. Who's that? He asked gently, trying to breach the rising tension. It's Jennifer, Amy replied, her eyes never leaving the screen. She says she knows something important we need to discuss. Mark's breath hitched, a flicker of fear crossing his face. Whatever she knows, it's probably not. Not what? Amy snapped. Not relevant. Mark, I need all the pieces. Every last one. Maybe there's something here that makes sense of everything. Just then a revelation struck her. Maybe this wasn't just about Mark's betrayal. The secrets ran deeper, intertwining with family ties and uncharted territories. What if Jennifer's information held the key to a truth that could shatter everything Amy believed? Not just about Mark, but about their entire lives. Do you think this will help us? Mark asked tentatively. Amy inhaled sharply. She wasn't sure if it could help their relationship, but she had to know she needed to know. As hard as this is, I have to find out, she said, determination lacing her voice. I'll meet her. Mark's face fell, and for a moment, they were both left standing on the edge of uncertainty. Would this lead to resolution or more heartbreak? And as she turned to leave, a question hung heavy in the air. What was she truly willing to uncover? And was it worth the risk of losing everything once again? The air felt heavy as Amy stepped out, the cool breeze gently brushing her cheeks, grounding her in reality. She had to remind herself that this meeting was not just about Mark, or the raw pain she felt. It was about family and truth, and whatever shadows lurked in the corners of their lives needed to be brought to light. Jennifer's words echoed in her mind. Urgent. Important. What could possibly unravel between two sisters that hadn't already? Despite every warning bell ringing in her head, Amy found herself walking faster, eager to reach her sister. They had always shared everything, from childhood secrets to attempts at adulting. It felt unnatural to think that there could be something so significant lurking in the dark. Now that as she approached the cafe where they had arranged to meet, Amy's stomach twisted in knots. The familiar smell of coffee and baked goods wafted through the air, but the comfort it usually provided was lost on her today. She spotted Jennifer seated in a corner, her fingers nervously tapping against the table. There was something different about the way her sister held herself, a tension she rarely saw. Hey, Amy said, sliding into the seat. Amy, I'm glad you came. Jennifer looked up, her eyes wide with concern, the weight of something unspoken hanging between them. I need to know what's going on, Amy said, urgency bubbling in her tone. What's deeper than the betrayal I just found out about? What do you know? Jennifer hesitated, taking a deep breath. It's about Mark. About more than just you two. Amy felt her heart race again, this time with a mix of fear and frustration. What does that even mean? Just tell me. Okay. Jennifer's gaze dropped to her latte, and Amy could see her sister was grappling with something monumental. Mark isn't who you think he is. I didn't want to believe it, but I connected some dots. What do you mean? Panic rose in Amy's chest. You're scaring me. Just say it. Jennifer finally looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. He's been lying about his job. There's a reason he's always so secretive. And it's not just personal space issues. I dug deeper, and it's about a flight and more than just work. What are you saying? Amy's breath hitched, dread creeping in. Is he in trouble? No, yes, kind of. It's complicated. Jennifer's voice was shaky. I found some documents he didn't want you to see. Things that suggest he might be involved in something illegal. Amy's world tilted sideways. Was this all escalating from betrayal to something much darker? Memories of Mark's secretive texts and late-night meetings came rushing back, piecing together like a horrifying puzzle. He's a pilot, Jen. What could he possibly have gotten into? She exclaimed, incredulity fighting with fear. He does more than that. I uncovered records of flights that go off the books and people. People? Confusion clouded Amy's mind. What do you mean? Something is wrong, really wrong. I think he could be in serious danger, or worse, caught up in something he can't control. If he's involved, you could be too. Amy's heart sank even further. Why didn't you just tell me earlier? Why wait until now? I thought I could handle it. That maybe it wouldn't matter. Jennifer looked down ashamed. Disbelief coursed through Amy. This matters more than anything. If all of this is true, then everything I thought I knew is a lie. A moment of silence settled heavily between them as Amy processed the information. The weight of the night's revelation pressed down on her, and she fought against the wave of nausea threatening to overwhelm her. What do I do? She whispered, her voice trembling. Jennifer reached out, her hand covering Amy's. We need to confront Mark. But we need to tread carefully. He could become dangerous if he feels cornered. Suddenly, doubt and fear trampled over her anger and hurt. Was she ready to face this part of Mark that she never even knew existed? Would confronting him reveal a truth even darker than the betrayal she had already uncovered? The question loomed, anchoring itself in her mind unshakable. What secrets lay buried beneath their lives, and were they ready to dive into those depths? Amy's heart raced as she stared at her sister's trembling hand over hers, the warmth of contact suddenly feeling like a lifeline in an ocean of confusion. Fear curled around her stomach like a live wire. Mark was everything she could have hoped for: charming, attentive, a loving partner. But if what Jennifer was suggesting was true, then Mark was woven into something far more intricate than either of them could unravel at that moment. Jennifer, she could barely get the name out, feeling like the words were stuck in her throat. Does he know you've figured this out? I don't think so, Jennifer replied, biting her lip. But if he senses we're onto him, it might push him to act recklessly. Amy nodded, trying to process the implications. So what do we do? We can't just sit here. Jennifer hesitated again, her brow furrowing slightly. We need to gather more evidence first. We can't confront him without being sure of what's going on. Otherwise, we might put ourselves in danger. Danger? Just saying it sent shivers down Amy's spine. Would Mark really turn dangerous? But deep down, something was gnawing at her. She had always prided herself on trusting her instincts, and right now they were screaming. Okay, Amy said, a newfound resolve creeping into her voice. What's the next step? We need to find out more about those flights. I have some documents at home, but I need to be careful. I can't let him see me with them. As they talked, the cafe around them buzzed with familiar sounds: the hiss of the espresso machine, the soft chatter of patrons. But it all felt distant. Amy was trapped in a nightmare that refused to fade. The joyful atmosphere of the cafe felt like a cruel joke against their unfolding reality. What do you think he's involved in? Amy asked, a chill tracing down her spine. Could he be smuggling something? I don't know, but whatever it is, it feels much bigger than either of us. He's been lying and hiding things for a long time, and that's what worries me the most. Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper, the weight of their situation hanging heavily in the air. The sisters shared a glance, an unspoken understanding passing between them. They needed to be smart about this. Their lives, or at least their chosen lives, We're about to shift irrevocably. What if, Amy started, her voice trembling slightly, what if we trap him into revealing something? Keep him talking? Maybe he'll slip up? Jennifer's eyes widened, but Amy could see the gears in her sister's mind turning. It might work, but we need to approach it carefully. If we're wrong or if he realizes we're onto him, I know. The gravity of their situation curled like smoke in Amy's chest. The thought of what it could mean crossed her mind, a confrontation. A final unraveling of the man she thought she knew. They both took a deep breath, the air thick with uncertainty. We can do this, Jen. If we stick together, Amy said, clutching her sister's hand tightly. The conviction in her voice didn't just feel like hope. It felt like a battle. As they gathered their coats and prepared to leave. A sense of determination washed over them, mingling with the fear. The path ahead was murky, and Amy could only imagine what lay beneath the surface. Were they about to uncover truths that would pull their lives apart forever? Or would they find a way to reunite the pieces once more? They stepped outside, the cool breeze brushing against their faces like a warning. The sun hovered low in the sky, its light flickering like the uncertainty that lay ahead. Just then, Amy's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her heart dropping at the message that lit up the screen. It was from Mark. I need to talk to you. Something important came up. The dread wrapped around her like a vice. What was about to happen? Were they about to walk into the very heart of the darkness they feared? Or would they find the light they desperately needed? With every ounce of courage she had, Amy felt the weight of impending confrontation settle in. They were in too deep now, and whatever came next would change everything. As Amy stood outside the cafe, her heart pounded in her chest. The words from Mark's message echoed in her mind. Something important came up. What more could he possibly have to say? She turned to Jennifer, their earlier resolve shifting into a deeper bond forged by uncertainty. I have to reply, she whispered before breathing deeply and typing. I'll be home soon. Is everything okay? A few seconds ticked by, the world blurring around her as the tension grew. Jennifer's expression mirrored Amy's fear. What do you think he wants? She asked softly. I don't know, and I don't trust him anymore, Amy replied, her stomach twisting. But he can't know we're onto him. Jennifer nodded, determination gathering in her eyes. Let us stick to the plan. We'll confront him together, but just be careful. With that agreement, they started the walk home, every step heavier than the last. The familiar path felt foreign now, shadows creeping in with the setting sun. When they finally arrived at the front door, it felt like crossing the threshold to another world. Mark was already inside, pacing the living room. His eyes lit up with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety when he spotted them. Amy, I'm glad you're home, he began, his voice strained. What did you want to talk about? Amy demanded, crossing her arms defensively. Mark hesitated, glancing toward Jennifer, his unease palpable. It's about what I didn't tell you. It's serious. Serious like your work meetings with other women? Amy shot back, her anger resurfacing. Jennifer squeezed Amy's shoulder, grounding her. No, please, just listen, Mark implored, his frustration morphing into desperation. I didn't want you to worry about what's going on with my job. But things have gotten out of control. Out of control? What does that even mean? Amy's voice trembled with the weight of her emotions. You've been lying. What else are you holding back? Mark took a deep breath, his eyes momentarily glistening with tears. There are parts of my work I can't share. I wasn't just flying commercial planes. I was involved with some shady dealings, but I thought I could keep it separate from you, to protect you and the kids. Amy's heart dropped. Shady dealings? You've been lying to us this entire time, Mark. I know, but please. It isn't what you think. His voice broke, and he looked desperate. I didn't mean for it to get complicated. It started small, and I thought I could handle it. But I was wrong. Jennifer stepped forward, her voice firm but calm. Mark, if you're in trouble, if you're in too deep, you have to be honest. We can't help you if we're in the dark. Mark's gaze flickered between both sisters, realization dawning on him. I wanted to come clean. I didn't want you involved in my mess. I thought you'd think less of me. Less than what? Amy interjected, hurt evident in her voice. You already think I can't handle the truth. I deserve better. Mark's body slumped, and he ran a hand through his hair, exhaustion stitched across his features. You're right. I messed up. But this is about to escalate. If they find out what I've been doing, it'll hurt everyone I love. The silence that followed felt like an exhale from an overheated balloon. Tension dissipating, but leaving raw emotion in its wake. What do we do then? Amy asked, her resolve softening just a touch. There's a flight scheduled for tomorrow. I'm supposed to take part in something dangerous. They've hinted at consequences if I don't comply, Mark confessed, the color draining from his face. You can't go, Jennifer insisted, her voice firm. You need to get help. We can find a way to navigate this. Amy's heart raced. What if this leads to more lies? What if it puts us in danger? Mark stepped forward, his eyes pleading. I'll stop it all. I just need your support. I can't do this alone. Support? Amy echoed, disbelief filtering into her voice. You expect us to keep this a secret while you're tangled in whatever mess you've created? Only until I can fix it, he said fervently, hope gripping his words. We'll get through this together. I promise. The three stood in a taut triangle of emotions, hearts exposed. It felt strange to realize the truth they had all been wrestling with was no longer just a betrayal, but a shared challenge to confront. We have to stick together. All of us, Jennifer said quietly, her hand taking Amy's, shaping a bridge over their worry. Amy felt a swell of determination flood back in as she looked at her sister, then back at Mark. We'll confront this together, she affirmed, her voice steadied. But this is your chance, Mark. If you betray us again, there won't be any coming back. Mark nodded earnestly, the gravity of her words sinking in. I swear. No more lies. Just trust moving forward. As the air shifted, their pact felt like a lifeline. It wouldn't erase the pain or suspicion, but it was a step towards healing, a united front against whatever lay ahead. We'll start by gathering more information on what you're dealing with, understanding exactly what they expect from you, Jennifer suggested. Yes, Amy added, and if it means going to the authorities, we will. Mark's eyes widened, vulnerability showing through. What if they retaliate? Then we come back stronger, Amy replied firmly, gripping her sister's hand tighter. But we need to act fast. With their hearts aligned and a plan forming, fear turned into strength. They would navigate the storm together, turning betrayal into redemption, tangled lives into a united front, that as they moved forward into the unknown. Little did they know, their bond would be tested further than they could imagine, revealing truths they had never anticipated. But whatever awaited them, they were ready to face it, no longer as mere victims, but as a powerful force. The sun dipped below the horizon as they stood together, ready to confront the dark shadows that loomed ahead, believing that, together, they could light the way. This is the end of the chapter, an invitation to change, a call to join a new journey. If you felt the emotions in this story, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive tales that promise transformation and intrigue. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and really help spread the word. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. What would you do if you were in Amy's shoes? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative journey. Let us spread hope and resilience together. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second.